David, will you grab lights, please?
So the test will cover everything from 6 to 10?
1 through 10?
1 to 10?
No. Yeah.
Did we start over with 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I believe this is 10. Are we good with that? Are we agree with that? 10? Yes. So, this is number 10. So, we have one more lesson tomorrow. So, as you go through, start the process of getting these. You should just keep them all in a folder, so that way you don't have to like scrounge around for them. You can keep the folder in my room in that closet over there, so you don't have to worry about where they're at. Just each day, once we take them, just put them in the folder and throw them in there. And then you have them when I check them before the test. I will be checking Unit 2 notes on Thursday. So if you have been absent, then you need to get on Google Classroom. I will give you paper copies, or you can print them from Google Classroom. It's up to you. I'm trying my best to make it as easy as possible to get caught up. But you're still going to have to do the work of getting the notes and doing the homework. Okay? So we are looking at compound inequalities. The word compound... you've seen that word before in English class. What does the word compound mean if we think English class? Do what? Yeah, a little more specific.
Compact.
Maybe, yes. Specifically in English class, you talk about compound sentences.
Altogether, conjunction.
No, you use a conjunction.
It's packed into one sentence.
Okay, so it's how many sentences combined into one? 2. So a compound sentence are 2 sentences combined into one, and we use a conjunction. I believe conjunction is the right word. Conjunction to put them together. Joe went to the park, period. He has a dog, period. Compound sentence would be Joe went to the park and he has a dog. So a compound sentence are taking 2 simple sentences and putting them together into one. Compound inequality is the same idea. We are taking 2 inequalities and combining them into one. So basically you're doing what we did on the last notes on Friday. You're just doing it twice. Okay? So definition is 2 inequalities on one graph. So it is the same process to solve them. You solve the inequalities like normal. You just have to solve 2 inequalities and then graph them on the number line. Now there are 2 types of graphs. There are the outward graphs, which are the OR graphs. So if you see the word OR, that means that we're going to probably have an outward graph like this. So we're looking for the word OR. We have OR, and graphs. So we're going to look at OR first. Okay? So what this means, here's a graph. This is what a graph on a number line would look like for OR. They're usually going to go out both sides, both directions. Okay? If I write it, let's write this. So if I give you the graph, there's 2 inequalities. What would one inequality be for this number line? Nope. We're writing out. We're not using interval notation. We want to write it out. So what would one inequality look like for this graph? The one on the left. What would the one on the left look like? X is
less
than or
greater than -2.
No, X is less than or equal to. Why do I know it's less than or equal to?
Because it's closed in.
Closed in, shade to the left. Less than or equal to -2, or because they're going in opposite direction. So X is less than or equal to -2, or X is, look at the other side. X is what?
Less than 2.
Nope.
Greater than 2.
Greater than 2. I shade to the right, so X is greater than. There's no line underneath because it's an open circle. So X is greater than 2. Those are my 2 inequalities combined into one. Now, let's use interval notation. If I use interval notation, we talked about this Friday. Start from the left, and we are putting an interval notation. Interval means I put the starting point and the ending point, and then I have to decide if I put parentheses or brackets, square brackets. So let's start at my first inequality. We're going to have 2 separate ones. Inequality on the left. If I write that at an interval notation, I go start from the left. I'm going to start with what? Yeah, negative infinity because it goes to the left. So I start from the left. I notice I don't have an ending point, so it's negative infinity, comma, negative 2. So that's the one on the left. I go from negative infinity to comma, negative 2. Let's think about my brackets. What will go with negative infinity? Parentheses. You always put parentheses with infinity, whether it's negative or positive. And then what's going to go with the negative 2? Square bracket, because it's a filled-in circle. So it's the same thing we did, you just do it twice. Or, look at the inequality on the left, or on the right. Start from the left. I'm starting with what number? 2, comma, infinity. Now let's look at 2. What type of parentheses or brackets do I have with 2? I have parenthesis, it's an open circle, so parenthesis, I cannot include 2, so parenthesis 2, comma, infinity, parenthesis. And that's how you do it. It's the same thing, we're just doing it twice. Okay, any questions on that?
That's easy.
Okay, let's look at 2 real quick. 2 at the bottom. Guys, keep your head up, please. Thank you. Let's look at 2. First of all, I notice I see the word or. So these are 2 inequalities. So this is a compound inequality. And I see the word or. So I'm thinking that they're probably going to go in both directions. So I have 2 inequalities. Solve both like normal. If I look at my inequality on the left, negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 9. How would I solve that? Come on. Number 2. Negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 9. How would I solve that? Divide by what? Negative 3. Okay? You have done this. Okay? You can solve inequalities. We're just going to do it twice. If I divide by negative 3, I have x is greater than or equal to. I divide by negative, so I have to switch the direction. X is greater than or equal to negative 9 divided by negative 3, 3. Or, so I put the word or, let's solve the other one. How do I solve the other one? Minus 5. Minus 5. This is nothing new. You've done this all. Guys in the front. Okay, start from the left. X, I didn't divide or multiply by a negative. Less than 6 minus 5 is 1. So you solve each inequality like normal. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, let's graph this. It's an or, so I'm thinking it's going to go out both directions, possibly. Okay, x is greater than or equal to 3. How would I graph on a number line? X is greater than or equal to 3. Someone else. Michael, how would I graph x is greater than or equal to 3 on a number line? Okay, where's 3 at? Okay, right past 2 between 2 and 4. Open or close circle? Close. Shade to the what direction? Right. X is greater than, thank you. X is greater than or equal to 3. So it's a filled in circle at 3, shade to the right. This is nothing new. We're just doing it twice. Okay, my other one is x is less than 1. So I need to graph x is less than 1. How do I graph x is less than 1? Will? X is less than 1. How do I graph that? He can answer it. How do I graph x is less than 1? Open circle at 1, shade to the left. X is less than, so shade to the left. Or you're usually going to have it out in both directions. So nothing different. We're just doing it twice. Okay, now interval notation. Okay, we're going to have 2 intervals like we did up here. Okay, start from the left. The first one is going to be what to what? Negative infinity, comma, 1. Let's think about. Parenthesis, always with me, infinity, negative infinity. Will 1 be parenthesis or bracket? Parenthesis. Why would it be parenthesis? It's an open circle. Okay, so negative 1 to 1, both parentheses. The next one, start from the left. Next one is going to be what? 3 to
Oh, it's
infinity. So I start with 3 on the left, I go to infinity, bracket at 3, because it's a filled-in circle,
the parentheses.
parenthesis and infinity. Okay. Any questions on that?
No. Can we start the homework?
Nope, we're going to look at one more on this side. A couple more maybe. Okay, let's look at number 5 is fine. Let's look at 5. Let's look at 5. If I look at 5, this is OR. This is a compound inequality because there are 2 of them. Do not make compound inequalities harder than they are. It's just 2 inequalities put together. And let's solve each one of these. So if I look on the left, Nick, number 5, the inequality on the left, what do I do first to solve this one? You're good. You got this. Negative 6x plus 3 is less than negative 15. What do I do first to solve that one? What do you say, Nick? Do you say something? Yep, minus 3, minus 3. Good. So subtract 3. You solve these like normal. So start from the left. Negative 6x, the 3's cancel, less than negative 15 minus 3, negative 18. Okay, how do I solve for x? Divide by negative 6. That will make this x
Negative.
Positive.
X is what? Greater than, because you divide by negative. Negative 18 divided by negative 6. Positive 3. Don't forget, if you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, you switch the direction. Now let's look at my other one. 1 minus x is greater than or equal to 5. How do I solve that for x? Minus 1, minus 1. Here's a mistake I see. There is still a negative in front of the x. Do not lose that negative. It is still negative x is greater than or equal to what? 4. How do I get rid of the negative in front? Divide by negative 1. If I divide by negative 1, what will my inequality look like?
Less than.
X is less than or equal to, because I divide by negative 1. Less than or equal to what?
2. Or 1.
Guys, pay attention, please. 4 divided by negative 1.
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Okay, let's graph these two on the number line. X is greater than 3. John, how would I graph x is greater than 3 on the number line? You're the only one here. You, yes? You, John. X is greater than 3. How would I graph that?
Open circle at positive 3.
Okay. Okay. X is greater than 3. Open circle, shade to the right. This is all review. We're just doing it twice. X is less than or equal to negative 4. How would I graph x is less than or equal to negative 4? Shelby? Yep. Closed circle. Shade to the left. X is less than. Usually with or, you're going to see it going in both directions. Just kind of as something to keep in mind. Guys, I'm in the middle of teaching. Please stop talking. Okay, let's look at interval notation. You're going to have two separate ones. Start from the left and work your way right. The first one, interval notation will be what, Amaya?
Ooh.
The one on the left?
Oh.
Start from the left.
Whoa.
Let's clear out there by the arrow.
Yep.
Negative what?
Nope, but I don't have a specific starting point. So if I look at the left, I don't have a specific starting point. So it's going to be what? Yep, negative infinity, comma. So I go from negative infinity to negative 4. Parenthesis at negative infinity always. What type of bracket at negative 4? Because it's a closed-in, filled-in circle. Or, that means I include negative 4, that bracket does. Or, the inequality on the right, what will that look like in interval notation?
or 3, comma infinity.
Okay.
And then parentheses.
Both parentheses. I do not include 3. It's an open circle. Infinity always has parentheses. Okay, any questions on that? Same big idea, you're just doing it twice.